Alright, let's talk about the Necromancer. This class is all about dark magic, pets, and controlling the battlefield. And honestly, once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun. So what races can actually play a Necro? Pretty much you get the usual suspects for dark magic, and when it comes to your bonus points, I like to put them into stamina for survivability, intelligence for your mana pool, and either dexterity or strength. Dexterity will help with channeling, while strength impacts your carry limit. When you get into the traits, I'm a big fan of Brawn. Being able to instantly boost your strength can save you a ridiculous amount of walking time, probably like 40 minutes of hauling loot back to town if you overfill your bags, because you can't cast Gate when you're over encumbered. It really is one of those quality of life things you don't appreciate until you actually need it. Next, we take Channeler. Channeling allows you to continue casting spells through enemy attacks without interruption, which will happen quite often when Charm breaks or when you need to feign death. Channeler will help skill this ability 25% faster. For your non-combat traits, you have a few things to consider. If you're looking to take up any kind of crafting professions, then you probably want to look at Master Artisan and take a gathering profession to go along with it. Alternatively, you might opt for Infravision if you aren't human, allowing you to see better at night. After all, this game can get pretty dark. Forge is another choice you could go, surviving off of what food and drink you can scrounge up, staying out in the field longer. You could also take Lumberjack. This is an option you could choose if you want to get a little starter coin, selling torches from survivalism early on to fund your spells and bags. The next thing I want to talk about is fear kiting. In my opinion, this is the funnest part of playing a Necromancer. Some of the key spells you'll be using when fear kiting are your snare, your deluge dots, mend the dead, and obviously fear.
Key things to remember: you want to have your pet taunt off. You never want your pet automatically taunting. Now, the reason is whenever you pull a mob with snare, he's going to come in slow, obviously, but when your pet goes in, you don't really have your damage out yet, and if your pet taunts automatically as soon as he engages, you're not going to have taunt available when you pull aggro from your next dot that you cast. So always make sure that you snare first, send your pet in, send your second dot out, and then use pet taunt. Now, doing it this way, your pet will actually have aggro immediately, and you don't have to worry about kiting for 5 to 10 seconds while your pet can taunt again. If you pull more than one mob, don't panic. Put your pet on the one that's not snared, and then immediately fear the one that you did snare as soon as you can see him. Doing this, your pet can actually handle one probably by himself for majority of this fight. At one point or another, you might want to fear the one that your pet is fighting and then kind of juggle both of them so your pet's not taking as much damage. This isn't that important until you have like 3 or 4 mobs, but 1 to 2 is probably fine just to let your pet kill one and you can dot kite the other one, not an issue. This is actually where the snare necklace comes in clutch. You get this from early Necro quest. I think you have to go to Wormsbane at some point to get a cloth scrap from one of the names, but you can go in there and someone will probably just let you loot one if you can't get one yourself. Everything else is pretty easy to get. I'm not going to spoil the quest too much. I'll let you guys figure that part out on your own. However, having this necklace is completely game-changing in my opinion, and when you're only having to cast mana for fear and you can keep a mob snared, and it does do some damage, it's actually really, really strong. Another thing to keep in mind is when you're fear kiting, sometimes the mobs can position themselves inside of a rock or something, like you can see here in the video. Just send your pet, back to you or onto a different target to pull him out of the rock a little bit. You don't want to kill a mob when he's inside of terrain like that, because the chances of you being able to not loot the corpse are extremely high. Yeah, you don't want to kill a named mob inside a rock and not be able to loot. It doesn't feel good.
At this point, the fight's already over. Just keep reapplying fear and snare while your pet chews through them, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Next, we'll discuss the pets. Starting with the skeleton. In most cases, this will be your first summoned pet, only requiring a bone chip to cast. The skeleton pet actually has an extra attack in the form of strike, so he does slightly more damage than the other options available at this time. In most cases, you'll see necromancers running around with this pet. Next we have the ghoul. This pet is awesome. He hits just as hard as the skeleton pet, but instead of strike, he comes with ghoul tendrils. This is a root, and the only form of root we get before level 20. Kill wandering ghouls on sight in order to have the required skins in order to summon this pet. Sadly, our zombie friend is not quite finished yet, and he's lacking his secondary ability. It's speculated that this will be a AoE debuff of sorts, potentially slotting him in as more of a tanky aggro type of pet. Zombies require zombie skins to summon. This brings us to Charm Undead. Starting at level 12, you gain the ability to charm undead mobs up to level 23. This is huge. NPCs can hit for a lot of damage, usually more so than players. At level 12, you can have a pet that hits for 40 damage. Some key spells to use while charming are Charm Undead, Spell Shield, Feign Death and Deathly Howl, Invisibility versus Undead, Life Tap and Lesser Lifestone, and also Unholy Bulwark. When killing mobs with Charm, you will notice the difference in pet damage right away. This playstyle is definitely more dangerous than fear kiting, but it's also way faster, especially when you get comfortable with it and you're able to break Charm on your pet just before it dies so you can gain the full experience. Avoid using dots and just help your pet kill with life taps and be ready for that charm break. Some early charm options you could try are in the north of the Shaded Dunes, near the Crypt Ruins. There's risen officers and cultists that will spawn at night. These mobs are excellent to charm, however they do despawn at 6 a.m. I would recommend always trying to get one of these during a night cycle and go kill crocodiles throughout the early teens. Another option is the Ghosts in Sungreet Strand. If you get one that has a mana bar, they are actually druids and will give you buffs like regeneration and speed of the wild. You can find these just south off the road between Night Harbor and the Glass Flats. These mobs also despawn at 6 a.m. The last thing I want to talk about is group play and what utility necromancers can bring to a group. Some of the key spells for group play are Surge. This spell line is what makes us mana batteries, giving your mana to allies. Dark Embrace to help heal at the expense of your own health, and Covenant of Life. It's a damage, heal over time type spell. If no one else is snaring, use your free snare necklace to prevent runners from fleeing into more mobs. For damage, you want to use life taps again. In a group setting, mobs will die too fast for your dots to be effective, and always be looking to charm undead when grouping. If needed, don't be afraid to use your pet to off-tank adds. With Covenant of Life and Mend the Dead, your pet is actually really durable. Make sure you keep some mana on reserve in order to pump your healer in an emergency situation with Mind, Mana, or Mental Surge. It's not usually a good idea to use Fear in a dungeon, so you probably want to have your ghoul pet out prior to level 20 so you can have Root. Another thing you can do is if you have extra mana, toss a heal out to the tank before you use your life taps. And sometimes you just want to be a wizard. Blowing things up with life tap nukes is really fun. Taking a break from all the soloing. Go ahead and join a group. It's not bad. Overall, the Necromancer is really fun, and hopefully with these tips you'll feel more comfortable picking up the class and giving it a try.